Hello everyone, welcome to an episode of the BG Show. I'm here to do a season review of Agatha All Along, the latest MCU show, which I just finished a few days ago. I'll give you a spoiler warning, so don't worry. First, I just want to talk about some non-spoiler thoughts. And let's start all the way at the beginning of Disney+. Let's take it all the way back to 2020, the pandemic, to WandaVision. I think you have to talk about WandaVision if you want to talk about this show, because it's very important. WandaVision was a very, very good show. I thought it was an awesome show. Maybe it was just because we were all locked inside, but there really was a week-to-week anticipation. I think a lot of that had to do with we hadn't gotten all these MCU shows left. So, we really were on the edge of our seat, especially on Twitter and whatnot, about what we were getting every week. And that show ended, and at that time, Disney was looking to make a show about anything. They just wanted nonstop content. Streaming services were much more aggressive back then than they are now. It was very at the early onset of Disney Plus, and so Agatha, Catherine Hahn's character, is very important, and so they decided to give her a show. At the time, you were like, who's really asking for this? But that's kind of how they thought back then. 4 years later, this show finally gets made, and honestly, I thought this was the worst possible thing that could happen. Even though the acolyte is Star Wars, the fact that it's still on Disney Plus, you get now a show about witches again, which I thought this was just going to tee up. Not that you should worry about the online mob, but I thought this was just going to tee up the online mob again, and that this is just the last thing that I thought Marvel needed right now. I thought they just needed a really solid, grounded show with a main character like a Shang-Chi or a Captain America or a Winter Soldier, something like that. And I just didn't think that this show was worth the bad PR that it probably was going to get, and I didn't think that anyone would care about this character. And then I watched the first two episodes, and I thought the first episode was really good. And I guess, so spoiler warning, a little bit of a spoiler warning, but I thought not yet. The first two episodes were good, and then we keep going, and then we get into episode, the middle of the season, and then I realized, oh shit, this show's actually really good. And the show's actually way better than I thought, and it's doing things that other Marvel shows haven't done. And my last non-spoiler thought is, well, first of all, I'll say I really highly recommend watching this show. Watch WandaVision first if you haven't seen it, but it's definitely worth a watch. Even if you don't think it's your demographic, it's just really well written and well made. And if you've watched the other MCU shows, it'll be very apparent to you when you're watching it what I'm talking about. But like I was saying, the show is very well made, and yeah, I was just totally wrong about what I expected, what the show would be about. It was much higher quality than I thought. But the point I wanted to make was this show executed the perfect time. It came out in October, Halloween time. It had a target audience, and it executed the vision for that target audience. The witches and stuff like that, and kind of like a spooky show. And that's really what these shows have to do. That's why the first round of shows were trying to do. WandaVision was supposed to be very unique, a new kind of decade every single week. Loki was kind of like the time travel show. Hawkeye was the Christmas show. And then the action show was Falcon and Winter Soldier. And then She-Hulk tried to be a legal drama, but it did a bad job of it. And so really the original vision of Disney Plus in the MCU was that we were going to get genre shows, and I think that's what's really important. This executed the genre perfectly, and as a Disney Plus show, you have to do that. You can't be caught kind of just in the wind. So I thought it was super important, just in general, the way they executed this, and I thought it was really, really strong. I highly recommend watching this show. So obviously, probably the biggest spoiler of this show is that Billy turns out to be this teenager. We get this whole plot, and it really starts. We don't find out to the middle of the season, but I really liked episode 1, which it tied back to, which they do this Mayor of Easttown thing where she's a detective and she's trying to solve this crime, but as we find out, she's actually just in a spell, and all these people are just kind of playing along, or she's just kind of imagining it. And it turns out, when we find out that Wanda's son is this teenager in the show, we also find out that he originally died in a car accident, and this is the car accident that she was investigating in episode 1. So it's things like that I really like, things that tie back, and it really makes the show rewatchable when you go back and watch it, which maybe I'll even do at some point. The other big things, I guess, big reveals of the show, which I thought were really well done, is I like that they kept Agatha a villain the entire time. They didn't really turn her into a good character ever, which I think is pretty rare for a Disney Plus show, especially in the MCU, which I thought was smart. And, the Witch's Road is really just a made-up thing by her that she created to pretty much just be a con artist, and they'd sing this song and she'd steal all of her powers. And that's really only one of my complaints about the show, is they played the song so many times, just over and over and over. And it wasn't even a bad song, but they just played it so much. And I thought they were done, and they played it again. And it turns out that this show, which takes place on the Witch's Road, is actually just kind of a figment of Billy's imagination. And Agatha was kind of surprised when it was going on. So I thought all of that was really well done, and it was really interesting. Even if you're not kind of into the show, and this isn't obviously targeted for me, even as a Marvel fan, but I just thought it was a well-made show. The writing made sense. It tied back. There weren't really any plot holes. So I thought that was pretty good. Aubrey Plaza turned out to be Lady Death, which I thought also was, I guess kind of a twist, because we didn't know that. She could have just been a witch. In the comics, as many people are talking about, she is really the reason for Infinity War. I believe she is the reason why Thanos wants to snap half the universe, is pretty much just to impress her, which they didn't do, but I thought that was a really good reveal as she was kind of doing the cards, and then they got to her and they showed her that. I thought was a really cool reveal. And yeah, I think those are really the big spoilers. I don't think I'm going to do an episode by episode review. I don't really remember it, so in detail well enough, but I thought the show was really solid. I thought they executed really well on all levels. Having it come out right around Halloween time was very smart. Just perfect execution there with the marketing. I thought it was really well done. I thought it connects well to Wanda. And just an overall good show that I think anyone can watch. It's well written, and I think the creators of this show should get more responsibility in the MCU, because this was really well done. It was much better than a lot of the other MCU shows. It wasn't just schlocky. And it's weird because it had a big audience, but even though the viewer numbers are really good, it didn't really have any negativity online, which is weird. It didn't have... because even though there are shows that... Even though it's good, I still was expecting some negativity from the same people as The Acolyte, but it did the really rare thing where it got really good numbers, it was a good show, and it somehow avoided Twitter drama also, which is really unusual. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. That's my review of Agatha. I give it a 2 big thumbs up. A very well written, good show. But a win for Marvel, which they really needed at the time. Coming up next, I think, is What If, December 22nd. We'll see how that is. And then we got Captain America 4 in February. So thanks, guys, for watching. And as always, I'll see you on the next one.